Tonight, growing fallout from the historic Colorado Supreme Court decision disqualifying Donald Trump. Setting up for a likely showdown in America's highest court.
Donald Trump is the only person to blame for this.
Could it happen in other states, and what it means for the former president's re-election chances? Examining the mortgage math of falling interest rates, crunching the numbers for new buyers and homeowners. Thousands in New Brunswick prepare for Christmas in the dark.
Nobody's seen a storm like this before.
In Quebec, transforming a parking lot into a tent city for the most vulnerable. Plus, cracking the secret dress code.
It wasn't like anything else I had, so I kind of couldn't resist it.
The Winnipeg researcher who uncovered the mystery behind these cryptic handwritten notes.
CTV National News with Omar Sachedina.
Good evening, everyone. We begin tonight with an unprecedented moment in American politics and the fallout from the Colorado Supreme Court decision to bar Donald Trump from that state's presidential primary ballot. His campaign calling it completely flawed. Trump himself saying it was, quote, a sad day in America. Even his Republican rivals came to his defense. Colorado's top court ruled Trump was not eligible because of his conduct in the January 6th attack on the U.S. Capitol, the first time a court has disqualified a presidential candidate under the U.S. Constitution's so-called insurrection clause. CTV's Washington Bureau Chief Joy Malbin on Trump's next steps and what it means for his re-election bid.
Iowa voters pride themselves being first to have their say in the presidential election. But that bombshell Colorado Supreme Court ruling that Donald Trump engaged in an insurrection, disqualifying him from office, threatens to damage Trump's hope of returning to the White House.
It's detestable. They had no right to do that. He's not been convicted of anything.
To me, it's like, wait a minute, what does your Constitution say? He incited a riot.
The justices ruled Trump's words and actions when his supporters stormed the Capitol.
We're going to walk down to the Capitol. We fight like hell.
Violated the Constitution's 14th Amendment, a Civil War rule banning insurrectionists from holding office.
There was no trial on any of this. They basically just said, what, you can't be on the ballot? I mean, how does that work?
Even Trump's rivals hoping to defeat him are out defending him.
We don't need to have judges making these decisions. We need voters to make these decisions.
I think it would cause a lot of anger in this country if people had the choice taken away from them.
Calling it a sad day in America, Trump is using his latest legal setback to political advantage, raising money and motivating his supporters, calling it all a plot against him. He faces 4 criminal cases over his attempt to overturn the 2020 election. He's also trying to defend his anti-immigrant comments that critics say echo Adolf Hitler.
And it's true. They're destroying the blood of our country. That's what they're doing. They don't like it when I said that. And I never read Mein Kampf. They said, oh, Hitler said that in a much different way.
Asked about the Colorado ruling, President Joe Biden said the courts will decide.
But he certainly supported an insurrection. No question about it. None. Zero.
The final word on all this will likely come from the U.S. Supreme Court. Conservatives hold a majority, which could make the Colorado ruling to boot Trump off the primary ballot a bit of a long shot. Omar?
All right, Joy, thank you. The Israeli military has revealed the 3 hostages mistakenly killed by Israeli forces had escaped from Hamas 5 days earlier. This as a grim milestone is marked in Gaza. Hamas authorities say the death toll is now an estimated 20,000. Here's CTV's Adrian Gobriel.
Strapped with cameras and rifles, Israeli soldiers sweep through Gaza City, uncovering what they say is an intricate network of tunnels used as a major Hamas command and control center. Further south in Rafah, the human toll of IDF airstrikes are also recorded, as more innocent children are caught in the crosshairs of this devastating war.
Gaza today is the most dangerous place in the world to be a child.
While the Hamas-run health authority doesn't share the number of fighters killed, They say 20,000 people have died and more than 52,000 have been wounded in Gaza since this conflict began. In Israel, at least 1,200 people have died and 6,900 injured by Hamas and other Palestinian militants since October 7th.
The Security Council has agreed to continue negotiations today to allow for additional time for diplomacy.
For a third consecutive day, a UN Security Council vote calling for a ceasefire was postponed as members worked to get the U.S. to support their draft resolution. The Canadian government has joined the chorus of some Western nations calling for an immediate humanitarian ceasefire. Canada lists Hamas as a terrorist organization. That didn't stop a Hamas spokesperson from thanking the government this week.
The statement by Canada, Australia, and New Zealand backing sustainable ceasefire in Gaza. We welcome these developments.
In response, Canada's Minister of Foreign Affairs posting on social media tonight that Hamas are terrorists. Our statement was clear. For a ceasefire to be sustainable, Hamas must release all hostages. 5 were seen in videos released this week. Since the start of this war, concerns have been raised that this conflict could spread across the region. With IDF soldiers now patrolling the north near Lebanon, violence escalating in the West Bank, and Iranian-backed Houthi militants from Yemen attacking Israeli-linked commercial ships in the Red Sea, the footprint of this conflict is expanding. On the sidelines, the U.S., a major power broker, whose Secretary of State delivered this direct message during his year-end address today.
I hear virtually no one saying, demanding of Hamas that it stop hiding behind civilians, that it lay down its arms, that it surrender.
Israel has said it is ready for another humanitarian pause to release hostages. While Hamas leaders took part in multiple meetings across the Arab world today, they reiterated their position that there will be no exchange of prisoners until the war comes to an end. Omar.
All right, Adrian, thank you. India's prime minister is breaking his silence about an alleged plot by his government to assassinate a Canadian. Modi told the Financial Times newspaper he would definitely look into a foiled attempt to murder a Sikh separatist, a dual Canadian-American citizen living in New York. U.S. authorities say it was orchestrated by the Indian government. Canada has also linked Indian agents to the killing of a Sikh leader in BC. India denies it. The worst of the storm may be over, but lights are not back on for thousands of Maritimers who could be in the dark for Christmas. CTV's Laura Brown on the Roadblocks in New Brunswick.
It's like a real-life obstacle course, but there's nothing fun about it.
Somebody's going to get hurt. There's no markings, and there's something wrong if they can't clear trees out so the roads are open.
In some spots, the power line is holding the tree up enough you can drive under, but there are others where traffic is down to one lane. Most in this area are without power for obvious reasons.
We have poles broken off and hundreds of trees down across the lines, and then we said, well, they'll be along to start to fix this up. Nothing.
Richard Corey believes the safety risk today is higher than it was during the storm.
Tonight it's going to get colder. Tomorrow it's going to be even colder. We have places that we would expect that still might be without power at Christmas.
MB Power is trying to avoid that but can't make any promises.
While we're planning to have power connected for New Brunswickers by Christmas, we'll continue to provide updates on our progress so you can plan accordingly.
At its peak, 129,000 customers were off the grid, with the majority in Fredericton and Charlotte County areas.
Generators, no, we are completely out.
Customers at this hardware store appear to be in good spirits.
People were, even laughing about the whole situation and saying, yeah, I'm coming in looking for a generator. Probably should have done this 3 storms ago.
For now, the hum of generators is drowning out Christmas carols in some communities. It is colder tonight. Restoration times, according to MB Power's website, are as late as this weekend, but the utilities president is warning people to be prepared for an even longer wait. Omar.
All right, Laura, thank you. Winnipeg police are searching for suspects after what they call a brutal assault on an Indigenous woman.
It's disturbing, and it's a complete disregard for any kind of human life as far as I'm concerned.
The 27-year-old was beaten, then tied and dumped in a garbage bin on December 9th. The next day, someone heard her screaming for help and took her to hospital, where she was treated for her injuries and discharged. Police believe these 3 people are directly involved in the attack and are seeking the public's help finding them. And Toronto police caught up with their suspect today after a dangerous pursuit. Officers chased a stolen U-Haul through busy downtown streets while a police helicopter followed overhead. The driver allegedly kidnapped someone at gunpoint.
The result could have been catastrophic, especially with a person who's believed to be armed with a firearm.
The same man is also suspected of stabbing a police officer a couple of weeks ago. For anyone that has or is considering a mortgage, there are signs of relief tonight. Fixed rates are the lowest they've been in months. CTV's Kevin Gallagher on what that means for new buyers and homeowners.
Climbing mortgage rates have squeezed homeowners over the past 3 years and become an obstacle for those looking to buy.
I believe that this is the optimism that they were looking for with interest rates coming down.
For the first time since May, some lenders are offering insured 5-year fixed mortgages with interest rates below 5%, still well above the 1.39% rates available at the beginning of 2021.
I recommend all Canadians to continue saving, even if the rates drop by another 0.25% or 0.5% or even a 4%. It's still very unaffordable for many Canadians.
Falling fixed-rate mortgages are reacting to lower bond yields as markets anticipate central banks, like the Bank of Canada, will cut rates next year. Something David Speakman has been waiting 2 years for. He rents now, but will move into a new home in February. Despite lower fixed rates, he's getting a variable mortgage.
Probably more than half of the term of my mortgage will be below the fixed rate. So in the long run, I'll be saving some money.
Most mortgage brokers anticipate rates will reduce, but not to the lows some got during the pandemic, putting millions at risk of shocking increases. 60% of Canadian mortgages are up for renewal over the next 3 years, according to RBC.
Everyone's kind of starting to take that victory lap, but if inflation returns, that could mean rates are quite a bit higher for longer, and I think that's the big risk today.
The Bank of Canada says it still needs months of data to ensure inflation is trending down, Omar, so it still might take some time before homeowners feel more relief.
Many hoping for it in the new year. All right, Kevin, thank you for this tonight. Canada's tax agency knows how to follow the money and revealed today some of its own staff took COVID benefits they were not entitled to. 185 CRA employees have now been fired for wrongly claiming the Canada Emergency Response Benefit, better known as CERB. They need to pay it back. The program gave $2,000 a month to anyone out of work because of the pandemic. Public sector unions in Quebec representing more than 400,000 workers, including teachers and lab technicians, are threatening an unlimited general strike in the new year if they can't reach a deal with the provincial government. CTV's Vanessa Lee on the warning and the labor stalemate.
On the picket line since November 21st, these Quebec teachers are among tens of thousands demanding better salaries and changes to class sizes and workloads.
We've given up this long 5 weeks of salary and 5 weeks of learning for the kids. We're still here. We're not going to stop until we get what we want and what the students deserve.
Students in the French boards have already missed out on 5 weeks of school. And soon teachers at all public schools in the province could walk off the job indefinitely.
I think they do a lot that's unpaid as well. So I definitely understand their strike action. And I agree with it and support it wholeheartedly. As much as it does disrupt us at home, these people spend all day, every day with our kids.
Until now, the coalition of unions known as the Common Front, representing nearly 500,000 education and healthcare workers, has taken part in rotating strikes. In addition to school closures, non-urgent medical appointments have been canceled. They're now threatening to launch an unlimited general strike if they can't reach a deal.
Our members are clear. Workers from the public sectors are saying this negotiation is very important. We have high hopes, and that's why we have to meet them.
As the labor strife drags on, some teachers are forced to look for side jobs. while others are considering leaving the profession altogether.
The chairs, the writing material, all this is purchased with my own money.
Including high school teacher Alyssa Gutman.
The income for teachers is proving to be unreliable, and we're a family of 4, and I literally cannot afford to go without an income.
The province is not commenting on the union's threat and says they're still looking to have a deal in place by Christmas. Omar.
All right, Vanessa, thank you. Coming up.
I can see the face in the morning, like a happy face. They said they sleep well for a long time ago, they didn't sleep like that.
A vital solution to protect the most vulnerable. Tomorrow is the first day of winter, an especially painful and punishing season for those experiencing homelessness. CTV's Annie Bergeron-Oliver on the community putting up a tent city to protect the vulnerable at a time when others are tearing them down.
In the heart of Gatineau, a new community has popped up, turning a parking lot into a temporary reprieve for residents down on their luck.
I can see the face in the morning, like a happy face. They said they sleep well for a long time ago, they didn't sleep like that.
The City of Gatineau, the nonprofit Itinérance Zéro, and developer DevCore have set up 48 insulated tents for residents who were facing another winter in makeshift camps nearby. Each tent has a bed, sleeping bag, electricity, and a heater in a secure zone with easy access to warm showers, bathrooms, and social workers.
The important thing is to make sure nobody's going to freeze here. So that's the reason why we do that, and it's the beginning of a long project.
These tents are only here for the winter, with the project coming to an end in May. But the developer DevCore is hoping this is a pilot they can replicate in other Quebec cities. It's estimated as many as 300,000 people experience homelessness across Canada each year. In Toronto, shelter space is strained. Demand has increased by 44% over the last 2 years, and many of those seeking help are new to Canada.
New refugee claimants currently in the shelter system are coming in at twice the rate that we can support them to move into permanent housing.
And that shelter crunch is pushing more people to encampments that cities like Edmonton argue are unsafe.
We've got people burning to death. We've got gangs in there. We've got serious medical issues. We've got cold weather coming.
Edmonton police are getting set to clear 8 downtown encampments, but they can't do it before finding accommodation for those being displaced.
When it's so cold out, it's like I've seen these tents get ripped down and thrown out like it's nothing. And then what? Where are we supposed to go? What are we supposed to do?
A challenge with no easy or quick solution. Annie Bergeron-Oliver, CTV News, Gatineau.
Still ahead, breaking barriers, making strides in the hockey referee ranks. Despite the significant strides when it comes to representation in sport, there are still glaring gaps. Tonight, CTV's Alison Bamford introduces us to 2 Saskatchewan women who are breaking barriers in the world of hockey refereeing.
Alex Clark first put on her black and white stripes at 12 years old. Now at 30, she's lacing up for her second game as a referee in the Western Hockey League.
I call this my full-time hobby.
A hobby that's paying off. Clark's one of the first 2 women to ever ref in the Western Junior League.
As a female and as a mother, I think we have lots of challenges, and it's just another one that goes with it.
The mother of 2 is no stranger to the glass ceiling. She broke it a couple years ago when she became the WHL's first female linesperson. This time around, she has company.
Being the first with somebody else makes me even more proud because it means that you're not going at it alone. It means somebody else is getting opportunities.
That somebody else is Sienna Leifers. The 2 women have marked years' worth of milestones on the ice together, including the 2021 Women's World Championship and the 2022 Beijing Olympics.
You would have asked me even 6 years ago if any of that would have happened. I probably would have laughed at you.
But they say the culture is changing. Leifers and Clark now join 45 men to make up the WHL's referee roster this season. There's only a handful of other females reffing at the same level in Ontario and Quebec.
Our philosophy is really performance. And whoever qualifies to be on the ice as an official in the Western Hockey League, whether they be male or female, that's who we want to have.
The league says female officiating is keeping pace with the growth of women's hockey. And as the Professional Women's Hockey League prepares for its debut next year, both Leafers and Clark are excited to be a part of its officiating staff.
This league is just going to help further develop our female referees that we do have.
Until one day when they hope a woman gets called up to the NHL. Allison Bamford, CTV News, Regina.
Inspirations. After the break, a secret pocket guide to time travel. Cryptic notes, secret pockets, and a code cracker may sound like the perfect plot line of a spy movie. But CTV's Scott Lightfoot has a real-world American mystery solved right here in Canada.
This is an 1880s bustle dress that I bought for my historic costume collection about 10 years ago.
It was the dress that caught Sarah Rivers Cofield's eye.
It wasn't like anything else I had, so I kind of couldn't resist it.
But it's what she found inside that would become a case for curious code crackers around the world.
While I was examining the skirt is when I realized by having it upside down, I could see that there was a pocket attached on the inside and there was something in it. And I could tell there was something in it by finding the pocket because you could feel that there was a little lump in there.
That lump turned out to be 2 crumpled up, well-worn pieces of paper.
We got it to a readable point and we're like, but it didn't make any sense. So we start reading like, I guess like Bismarck obit Buck Bank. Like, what does it mean?
Answering that question would take about a decade. Rivers Cofield posted the dress and the papers on her blog about antique clothing, and for years, internet sleuths and code breakers tried to figure it out.
I've looked at about 170 different code books, and none of them matched these code words.
The mystery would be solved by a researcher who works here at the University of Manitoba. Wayne Chan saw the posts on the internet and in his spare time managed to make the connection between the words on the papers and words used for weather codes at the time.
They managed to, by the 1880s, turn a full weather report down to about, 6 or 7 words.
A code of just a few seemingly unconnected and random words contained everything from location to temperature to wind speeds. Vital weather information being sent across the U.S. by telegraph. Chan was further able to deduce the exact day the information was recorded, May 27th, 1888.
This is a much bigger picture about how the telegraph changed everybody's lives, how suddenly everybody is able to know what the weather is going to be, which is something I never thought about before.
Scott Lightfoot, CTV News, Toronto.
Fascinating. And that's a snapshot of this Wednesday for all of us at CTV National News. Thank you for watching. Good night and see you tomorrow.